Hello and welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel, and welcome to a preview for what is arguably Watford's biggest game of the season. Well, arguably it is the biggest game of the season. Watford against Luton Town at Vicarage Road. Of course, the second time that we'll be up against them lot down the road this season, having played them earlier in the year at Kenilworth Road. Less said about that game, the better. But we'll be getting into everything going into Sunday's game today, from the lineup to how we're feeling about the game. And I'm joined by, there'd be no one better to be joined by than Charlie Zazzera. Charlie, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I feel like everyone's kind of been keeping their feet on the ground, keeping their head down ahead of this one. Obviously, we're going to go into detail about it today, but yeah, been busy, mate. Again, half of me's really gutted that I can't be there. But yeah, I just want us to get it done. But all good. How are you feeling? I know you were a bit ill previously, and what did you make of Middlesbrough?
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks for me personally. Coming down with norovirus. If you've come down with that before, then you know it is difficult. So unfortunately, I didn't make it to Middlesbrough on Saturday, but watching it from home, and wow, it was excellent. I thought the performance all around, the organisation, the spirit, and I think that what ultimately it showed for me was that even though this team isn't necessarily good in quality in terms of what you see on the pitch, I'm going to bring out the bingo word here, but the intangibles of this team, the heart, the desire to keep on running throughout that entire 90 minutes, I thought was excellent. And a brilliant recap from yourself, Jacob, who couldn't join us today, and Charlie Bush. So make sure to check that out ahead of the Luton game. Charlie, I'll go straight into it because we've got a lot to get into. But firstly, I want to start off on a positive note. But what are your best memories of Watford against Luton? Because I see that João Pedro shirt behind you. And I'll tell you what, with his performance last time out against them at Vicarage Road, we could do with him, couldn't we?
Yeah, what an amazing performance that was. Again, unfortunately, I wasn't there for that one. I think the only one I went to was 2006. I think Marlon King scored, but I think it was a draw. But to be honest, haven't even got that many great memories because we haven't even played them that often, which could be the case. I'm not going to tempt fate. But yeah, I think that one's the big one. I remember being like, this game for me growing up, because we haven't seen it that much, it doesn't feel like derbies you hear about from other fans talking about. But then in the lead up for that game and the feeling of it, I was like, okay, this feels a bit different. And the performance that we put in was just outstanding, wasn't it? Yeah. Did Keenan Davis not score to half time or something like that?
No, so I remember being pretty nervous going into the game, and normally with these games you're quite on edge for those first few minutes, or at least until the first bit of action. But I think we went 1-0 up. It was literally till 3 minutes in.
Was it early?
Okay. Yeah, it was an unbelievable finish.
But then we didn't. Unbelievable goal. But then didn't we have a late flourish? I just remember counting down and not feeling relaxed until the third or fourth goal. But
yeah,
what was the atmosphere like that day? Because everyone I've spoke to said it was pretty electric.
Yeah, you say the third or fourth goal. For me, it's Watford, so I wasn't feeling relaxed until the final whistle, to be honest with you. You're right. I think it was it was an unbelievable day. First of all, it was surreal. The atmosphere was unlike anything I've seen at the Vic before, in terms of normally you have, all right, it might just be bits of the Rookery, the 1881 stood up for 90 minutes singing, but it was the entire all four stands, and it was amazing. Of course, it helped going 1-0 up so early, I think, in terms of the atmosphere, and it was almost like a party atmosphere for the game. If I remember rightly, Luton did sort of come back into it. I know they didn't score, but they came close a couple of times, a couple of let-offs for us. William Troost-Ekong, obviously, Watford fan, scoring on the stroke of half-time. Before Gabe Osho got sent off in the second half, and Troost waved him off before Pedro and Sarr finished it off for us. But the whole day, and I think it helped with the early goal, was just so one of the best days, I think, supporting Watford. And a lot of fans obviously looked back at that point, those who were around at the 4-0 win at Kenilworth Road, singing 4-0 to Watford. It's happened again. So look, I'm hoping that we get something similar like that at the weekend. In terms of Luton, though, it's a very different Luton team, I think, to the one not only that we saw a couple of years ago that went on to get promoted from the Premier League, but it's a different Luton team to the one that beat us 3-0 earlier on in the season. They're bottom of the Championship. They're really, really struggling a lot more than teams thought that they would this season. Charlie, how much have you watched of Luton at all? And I mean, I know that you like your tactical side of things, but coming up against Matt Bloomfield, do you know anything about what we can expect from his side?
No, not really. I wouldn't go out my way.
I didn't mean to give you a hospital pass there. I apologise.
Yeah. You're the only sicko I know who would choose to watch Luton versus Plymouth instead of Real Madrid, Man City, or Liverpool, Aston Villa. But you said about, it's a different Luton side to the one we played early in the season. Is it? Or did they just play okay and we folded? I was there that day. Again, the build-up was hyped up a lot and we just didn't perform. I don't know. I don't want to say we crumbled, but the atmosphere was okay, but we just didn't get to our game and we got bullied in situations and they scored in 3 moments. But we've got to learn from that. We know they're going to be direct. I think there's been a lot of chat about listening to the guys from Not the Top 20 speaking about how they changed shape against Sheffield United last weekend and they played really well in the first half. And then Chris Wilder changed Sheffield United back to a back 3 and then went on to be the better team and went on to win at Kenilworth Road. So that's going to be an interesting one we can talk about when we pick our team. But yeah, pass it over to you. You watched the game against Plymouth last night and it's 24th against 23rd. So 2 teams at the bottom of the championship. How good was the quality?
Do you know what? Particularly the second half was actually a really enjoyable game of football. I thought both teams looked like that they were going for it. In credit, I'm not going to credit Luton too much. I don't want to jinx anything at all, like I've said quite a few times. But I said this to you before, Charlie, but I was actually surprised with how poor Luton actually were. Because it was the first 90 minutes I'd watched, I think, since they played us. First time I'd watched them under Matt Bloomfield. And I was just a team completely bereft of confidence at the moment. And I think it's quite, I mean, look, if I'm speaking objectively, I don't think that their team, their actual 11, is an 11 that should be at the bottom of the championship. But I can see why they're bottom of the league, because in this league, it's all about running hard. It's all about fighting. It's all about having that desire to go on to win games. And ultimately, Luton didn't have that. So, yeah, I decided to watch Luton Plymouth last night instead of Liverpool in the Champions League. Liverpool in the Premier League or Man City in the Champions League. But I think my slight worry, based on what I watched from Luton, is that the limited things that they are very good at the moment, in terms of going direct, in terms of putting balls into the box, is what I think is a big weakness for Watford. I think we've seen a lot of.
Why'd you say that? How many teams have come and, apart from Kenilworth Road, have we been bullied off, struggled with long balls this season? I can't think of too many.
I think not necessarily in terms of long balls. I mean, I can't, to be honest, so many games sort of merge into one at this point now. But I just think that when teams start to get a bit more physical and direct with Watford, I think we do sometimes struggle. Because other than Matty Pollock, no disrespect to any of our players, I just think, and maybe I am a bit scarred from that Luton game, like you say, I do just sort of feel that we do just sort of go into our shell a bit in those situations. So I think what's going to be really important for Watford on Sunday is that it's us setting the tempo and we come out of the blocks quickly and really assert put our stamp on the game, because we know we start games slowly, but I just feel if you give Luton an inch in that first 5 or 10 minutes, they could run with it. Because I'll bring out the cliche here, but it's Derby Day, form does go out the window, and Luton will know how important this game is, not just for us, but obviously for them as well, in the context of both of our seasons. Just before we hear Jacob's thoughts, though, Charlie, it is obviously a huge game in terms of it being a derby, but how pivotal could this be for Watford's season as well?
I think it's more pivotal for their season, if I'm honest. I did this afternoon in my spare time watch our colleague Lewis Williams, who was on the last preview, Luton fan. His video was titled "League One, Here We Come, It's Over," after reacting to the Plymouth game. So that just shows how low on confidence they are. They're rooted to the bottom of the championship. Remember, they're in the Premier League last season. And I think we as Watford fans know that when you're in the Premier League and you're losing every single week, having that losing mentality and culture is hard to shift. It's taken us, I don't even think we've properly shaken it off yet, but you know what I mean? It's taken us a few seasons. So it's crucial for them. And when you spoke about what you're worried about in terms of tactically, I think I'm worried a bit about them just sitting back and trying to get two banks of five and proper being defensive and trying to clog it up, and us struggling to break them down and us becoming frustrated. I remember that Cardiff game that we would watch together. It seems like that was their kind of approach, very defensive. Portsmouth did something similar. I know they scored and we came back, but they kind of went in their shell in the second half. So I'm kind of worried about that. But look, in answer to your question, I think it's more important to them. Look, it'd be very nice for us to get up to 48 points. I'm still a believer we're not going to get in the playoffs. I don't think we're good enough to get in the playoffs. I'm more interested in getting some bragging rights back after October's calamity.
Yeah, of course. I just feel that going, obviously the most important thing here is winning the game, because it is, can't stand Luton, and then we just have to go on and win that game, get our revenge for what happened in October time. But particularly because Watford are going to be, I think we might be the last game in the Championship this weekend. If we are going to stay in this playoff hunt, which, mathematically we are in it, as much as some Watford fans, like yourself, Charlie, are trying to play it down. We are 3 points off those playoff places, so it's either going to be, could we exactly? It could be an opportunity for us, to really stake a claim, move up the table, or it could be a case that we're going to have to win to hold on. But then also going down the table, if we look at Luton towards the bottom of the league as well, could be an opportunity for them to climb out the bottom three, depending on how results go for them, of course. All right, so obviously Jacob is not here today, unfortunately, due to other commitments. But with a game like this, we had to hear his thoughts going into it. So Charlie, you can take it away and get Jacob's thoughts.
Buddy, how's it going? Jacob here. Sorry, first off, that I'm not on the stream today. Apologies. I had some plans already booked in, but the lads, I'm sure, will be diving deep into this one. It is such a big game for Watford, not only because it's the M1 derby, it's that lot up the road, but also the fact that Watford have 13 games left for this Championship season, and where we find ourselves in the league table just feels like there's a little bit of extra needle on this one, and also the fact you add in the way we sort of capitulated at Kenilworth Road in the reverse fixture. Watford go into this one 10th in the Championship, 45 points, just 3 points off the playoffs. But it's one game that I feel can be a catalyst for the back end of the season. It always feels, especially if you're in the playoff race, that you need to be in and around the picture. But actually that last 15 games or so, a quarter of the season, is so crucial. And this result and this fixture comes at a time where we're about to go into that stage. So it really does feel like a big fixture for Watford. The guys wanted me to give my team for the game, and there was a lot of conversation about Luton obviously playing with a back three, whether Watford should go man for man. Look, we did that away from home. I didn't think that worked for Watford. I think we should stick with the four at the back. It's clear that's Tom Cleverley's preferred formation. It's clear this squad is more suited, I think, to a back four as well. Then when we bring into the context of Middlesbrough away in our last fixture, a 1-0 win, a big win when you think of the previous 5 games we hadn't won, 4 of those being defeats. Away from home, yeah, granted against the out-of-form Borough sides. I think the key here for Tom Cleverley is to not tweak it too much. And probably the biggest criticism I had of Cleverley this season was his selection at Luton away. I felt that bringing Dan Batman in for Jonathan Bond was the wrong call. I thought some of his selections were a little bit off. And I think it's so crucial that Tom Cleverley sticks to his guns and sticks to what's working. Because let's be honest here, we take the initiative to Luton. We win this football match. I think it's as simple as that. We have to play on the front foot. We have to be intense. We have to be aggressive. Almost a carbon copy of that fixture last time they played at Vicarage Road, the two teams, when we won 4-0. What I loved about us that day was the aggression and intensity and tempo Watford played at, coupled with some great finishing in a star player in João Pedro. But I remember Keenan Davis having one of his best games, but also the front line, Sem was brilliant. The midfield worked so hard. And then we were solid at the back as well. But the point is that Watford had a real nice, they played on the edge, but didn't go too far. And that's always the tricky sort of nature with these derby games. You don't want to go above and beyond and end up getting sent off, which I think is massive. In terms of my starting lineup, Eagle-Selvig will start between the sticks for me. A back four of Larousse on the left-hand side, a Banqua and Matty Pollock. I think Matty has to come in for this one. Kevin Caben might feel a little bit hard done by dropping down to the bench, but I feel like he had a great performance at Borough. I would start Matty back in. I think you need a personality and a character like Matty Pollock in these sort of games, especially when we talk about captain material. And that's what William Troost-Ekong did so well in the fixture last time out of Vicarage Road. Right back's probably the biggest dilemma for me, actually. Ryan Andrews or Jeremy Ngakia. I think I'd stick with Ryan at right back, especially if you play Sissoko on the right of the three who Sissoko probably put in as one of his best performances at Borough away. I just think with Sissoko on the right-hand side, you need pace going beyond him and overlapping. And I think Andrews provides that a bit better than Ngakia, but also you've got the option of bringing Ngakia on if required. Midfield two, pick themselves, Loser and Deli Bashiru. Without a doubt, I've gone Sissoko on the right-hand side, Chatfadati off the left with Kiyembe through the middle, and crucially, stick with Mamadou Doumbia, Tom. Please stick with him because Bio comes back in, obviously, with the suspension. And if I bring it back around to what I said at the start, he made the call to bring Batman back in when Bond didn't deserve to be dropped. Now, with this one, Doumbia doesn't deserve to be dropped and Bio could come back in. And I really hope that he sticks with Doumbia. And Bio is one of those players he's great to bring on at 60 minutes if we want to see out the game or give us a different option if we're drawing or behind, or even go to a two up front. But I think you've got to stick with Doumbia. So the main sort of headline here is I'd stick with pretty much the same team, but I'd bring in Pollock for Caben. And then I think that's pretty much it. We've obviously got Rocco Vata as a really good option off the bench. I was really umming and ahhing whether to start him, but I just feel like with Rocco, he could change the game for us off the bench. And because we did get that result away, I don't want to change it too much. I think that's the last thing we really want to do going into a game like this. Make a couple of tweaks. Well, one tweak for me anyway, and that is bring in Matty Pollock in centre-back. And the main headline probably is start Mamadou Doumbia, Tom, if you're watching. Score predictions, I'm going to go with the 3-1 Watford. You've got to be confident. I know I've spoke for about 5 minutes here, so apologies. And I'm sure the lads will be going into it in all sorts of depth. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves. If you're at the game on Sunday, come and say hello. Getting a little bit nervous, a little bit shaky, but I'm absolutely buzzing for this one. Should be a cracker at Vicarage Road. Take care, guys, and I'll hand over to Sam and Charlie.
And he's gone.
There we go. Thank you, Jacob, for your thoughts there. A confident Jacob in terms of a score prediction as well, and we'll come on to our prediction later on in the video. But let's pick our team for the game, Charlie. There are a few dilemmas for Tom Cleverley going into this one. I think in terms of the goalkeeper, when we get the tactics board up, it's going to be Selvig, isn't it, in goal?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with him since he's come in. He hasn't had to do too much, I've seen him claim a couple of crosses. Just has a bit of kind of, I don't know, maybe not aura, but composure about him and seems to calm everyone down. Maybe his kicking is his weaker area, but I've seen some good passes he's played. But I think he's a good number one to have now. Have you been happy with him since he's come in?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's been quite commanding, and I think defenders seem really relaxed with him, with him in goal as well. And yeah, he's made some big saves as well, obviously away at Sunderland and late on in the game against Middlesbrough as well. A save that you'd probably expect him to make, but obviously a crucial save nonetheless. So been impressed with Selvig. Of course, Dan Batman is still out injured, and whether Dan Batman comes back in as number one when he is fit later on in the season remains to be seen. But that's conversation for another day. Other bits of team news for Watford, obviously Quadro Bar is out, unfortunately, still with that injury, but he's back in recovery along with Pierre Duomo, who is also stepping up his recovery in the next week or so. The club released some good content actually of them in the gym together, so make sure to go and check that out on their channels. Defenders now. I think this is a really interesting one. I can't call it in terms of what Tom Cleverley will do. I think it will be a back four, but Charlie, you wouldn't rule out him going to a 3 if it's to match up Luton, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I've been kind of back and forth with my thoughts on this and what I think the best approach is going to be. And I don't know if Jacob's twisted my arm a bit with his justification, but I think I'm edging towards a back four. I like the saying, don't worry about the opponent, worry about yourself. And I think if Watford are playing their game with the right intensity, with quality on the ball, we'll easily beat them, especially with their confidence. So I don't think we should try to worry about them and match up with them. I know it worked well with Sheffield United, but I think we should go for a back four. Although I wouldn't hate it at all if it was a Banquer right centre midfield, Pollock centre midfield, and Caben centre midfield. Right centre back in the middle of a back three, and then left centre back with Kevin Caben. I think that'd be a pretty solid back three, considering how well Caben and the Banquer played. And I think Matty's got to come in for his leadership and his aerial ability. So, are we going with a 4?
I think it's going to be a 4. Yeah, it is really difficult to call though who that back 2 is going to be. And of course, depending on who plays in that back 2, I think also where.
Oh no, get in the comments if Sam's frozen for you as well. He'll be back. Two secs, guys. We'll just get Sam back and then we'll carry on. We back?
There we go. Apologies about that.
You're not played the electricity bill?
Nah, hopefully that's the only Watford mishap we'll have in the next couple of days at least. Apologies about that. Going on to the left back spot though, like I said, Yasser Larouci, do you think he's nailed down for that spot? I thought he had his best performance in a Watford shirt against Middlesbrough.
Really? I thought he was good against Leeds. No, I'm just laughing because of what me and you are normally talking about when it's Yasser Larouci. In particular, your gripe with his decision-making is always entertaining. It depends. It's either him or do you want to go a bit sturdier and go Gakia? I think I would go Andrews on the right, Pollock, Abankwah, and Jeremy and Gakia just for that defensive, because the idea of Andrews and Larouci both either attacking or getting into physical duels with Carlton Morris or Adebayo worries me, where I think Gakia might be a safer pair of hands. Are you having that back for any changes?
So I've got written down here actually what I do and what I think Cleverly will do. I know I can't believe I'm saying this after the way I've spoken about him this season. I'd go with Larouci at left back, with Andrews at right back, with Abankwah and Matty Pollock at centre back. But I actually agree with you. I think Cleverly will play Ngakia at left back for this one, just for that. I don't think he'll want both. I think either we'll see Larouci and Ngakia or Andrews and Ngakia. I don't think he'll want both Andrews and Larouci bombing forward.
I agree. Sam wants Larouci in, which I thought I'd never hear. But get in the comments and you decide whether it should be Larouci or Ngakia at left back. And for the time being, we'll put in the back 4 that we've gone for.
I mean, a lot of people are also suggesting, because it is going to be harsh, obviously, on Kevin Caben to drop him after his really good debut, is potentially play Caben at centre back with Abankwah at right back. Would you be opposed to that? I quite like Abankwah in the middle, bringing the ball forward.
Yeah, more. To be honest, I thought Andrews didn't have his best game at all against Middlesbrough, but I just like that idea of Andrews playing in a derby, knowing what it means, bringing that attacking threat. The thought of him scoring in front of the Rookery in a derby, that would hit different. So I don't know, maybe that's just a bit biased and I'm thinking with my heart instead of my head, but I think Abankwah, like speaking to Connor as well, congratulations, Connor, who's got a job with the Irish FA, obviously knows his stuff. But he was saying like Abankwah's a centre-back. And we saw him at Derby and Preston at right-back, didn't we? And Preston didn't go too well for him. So I think Abankwah was outstanding against Middlesbrough, my man of the match. So I think him and Pollock is a sure bet.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think for his leadership is going to be absolutely massive. The midfield, definitely, it's another interesting area for Watford. I think going into
This
one,
has got to be a gimme, isn't it?
well, I think Imran Louza is definitely, without doubt, he'll be starting. I think the question then has to come: will it be if Moussa Sissoko is fit? Does he play? And if he is fit, does he play in midfield or does he play further forward, like we've seen a couple of times in the last few weeks?
Before we talk about the game, can you just give me your thoughts on Imran Louza and his remontada? How good has he been? And did you see this coming?
I never saw this coming. Unbelievable. This is the player that we thought we signed in the Premier League. And I know I was his biggest critic out there for the last 2 years, pretty much. I thought he was incredibly frustrating to watch. But I think deep down in hindsight, it's because I knew that this was the player that Imran Louza could be. And now that we're seeing, I think huge credit has to go to Tom Cleverley, who I think has really put the belief back in him. I think we're just seeing an absolutely fantastic player who's now got confidence, not only within himself, but I think he's got confidence back in his body after a really difficult injury against Millwall a couple of years ago, which we all remember. But the fact that he's, the credit has to go to him as well, because he was pretty much frozen out at the start of the season and in the summer. But the opportunity was there for him due to a couple of injuries, but he got his head down, worked really, really hard, and now he's arguably one of the best midfielders in the Championship. I think the stats back that up as well. Been fantastic, hasn't he, Charlie?
Yeah, I did not see it coming either, if I'm honest, but it's really great to see. And for me, this game is all about these two. If these two have a good game, we're in the money because they've got the quality on the ball. And my message would be for these two to find space, but just keep giving it to them, And they've got to be good under pressure because Luton are going to try and press them really high up as quick as possible. But with their quality, they should be able to know that they're coming, then find Chatfadazzi, then find whoever else we decide to put on in more advanced positions. And after we've beaten that intense Luton press, we should have a numerical advantage against Luton's defence. So I think these two are absolutely key. Yeah. And if I was Clev, so I would be G'ing him up, making him feel $1 million. And I'd be saying to the rest of the boys, keep feeding them. Keep giving it to them because they'll be key to unlocking our attacking talents, and hopefully those boys can deliver some end product. You're saying about Moussa Sissoko, he came off at half-time against Middlesbrough. Do you think he is going to be fit? And if so, does he get in your team?
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Sissoko because obviously he has been off it for pretty much the entire season. Up until that first half against Middlesbrough, I actually thought he did really, really well. I thought he did his role really well in terms of blocking the passing lanes, which Middlesbrough like to use to get their wide players involved. And I thought his work rate was really good, and obviously got that goal with an amazing header from a brilliant Imran Louza corner as well. It was a hamstring injury, and I'm not sure if it was precaution or if it looked like a bad injury. Tom Cleverley hasn't done his press conference. I assume it's going to be tomorrow, and we'll find out more at that point. I think we all know that if Sissoko is fit, he will play. I think that is what Tom will do. So,
yeah,
with an asterisk, I think he'd go in.
Yeah, I would put him in. Lou Warnes did a good bit of analysis on him and the work he did covering Ryan Andrews, which I didn't spot. And again, that's something that we're going to need again for Luton, especially with Alfie Doughty on the left, who is probably their best player. So it's a change that we've seen, and I don't know if it's a square peg in a round hole, but I think Sissoko, when he's played on the right side, has been a lot more effective than when he's been centrally. So if the Moose is fit, I want to see him on that right flank. And obviously we know Quadro Bar's injured, so I think really he's our best option out there at the moment. And then we're talking about our other two attacking midfielders if we're playing a 4-2-3-1. Are we playing a 4-2-3-1 like we have been recently?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 4-2-3-1. I think we can almost certainly put Georgie Chatfadazzi in there as well.
But where?
Of course. Ooh. Again, I think it depends here, because if Rocco Vata is well enough, because obviously he was ill 2-3 weeks ago now and seemed to lose, I think Cleverly said, 2, 3, 4 kilograms, which obviously completely wipe him out. If Vata is fit enough to start, and I don't think people, I mean, it might not sound like a lot, but I don't think people really estimate in terms of professional men's football how much that can take it out of you, losing that amount of weight. If Vata starts, I think we'll see Georgie through the middle. But if it's, or maybe it might be Sissoko through the middle and Chak on the right-hand side with Vata on the left. I can't call it with the three. But I think if it's Kayembe, which is if Vata isn't fit enough, I think we'll see Georgie, Georgie out wide and Kayembe down the middle, maybe. I can't call it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been great that we've had this week off, considering Luton have had to play a huge game on Wednesday. I think, again, that should put us in our favour, and hopefully Vata's recovered, because even I thought when he came on at Middlesbrough, although he played as like a striker and he was having, I just thought he struggled. He's obviously suffered a bit, and to be fair to him, he still made himself available in the last couple of games. But for me, this is what I want to see. Let's get rid of that highlight. I want to see this. I just think that Rocco Vata running at any defence, with or without the ball, is exactly what you need in a derby game. We've seen how good he is. I'm not going to say good, because sometimes pressing for the sake of pressing might get the crowd up but not actually do a good job. But I just think he'll bring energy to the stadium. His work on or off the ball, whether he's getting it running at his man or he's chasing down, I think he's going to be a player who might not have the decisive moment, but he will get the home crowd excited and get us on our feet, and that's vital. We need to stay in the game as much as possible. I think they're going to try and stink the place out and get the crowd frustrated, and do you know what I mean? Hopefully do something later on with a set piece or whatever. So we need players like Vata to bring his flair. I would love to see him started on the left. And then, like I said about Loser and Tom Delibashiru, let's just keep finding Georgie. Just let him roam. Let him go wherever he wants, because he has got the ability to have a João Pedro-like performance like he did 2 years ago against Luton. Give him the ball and he could take their defenders for an absolute stroll. This is how I would like to see us set up. Is it harsh on Kayembe? Do you think he's got a good case he should be starting?
I just don't see where he fits in if Vata is fully fit. And I can't lie, obviously, with Barr out, if Sissoko's fit based on his performance last week as well, I think he has to start. Maybe it's harsh on Kayembe, but at the same time, he has come off the bench this season and scored some big goals as well. So that option is there as well. And I'm sure, without doubt, Kayembe will feature at some point if he's fit during the 90 minutes. Next big question. Sorry,
mate,
Charlie.
Just a quick one. Do you think this is kind of saying what we'd like, and we don't know about Vata's fitness, but do you think Clevs is more likely to start Kayembe over Vata?
Yeah, I think so. I just think, I think like I say, the last few weeks would have really taken it out of Rocco. But also, I mean, a part of me as well, obviously, is you want your best players starting. But if Luton are going to be really difficult to break down like we're expecting them to be, bringing on Vata for the second half, the last half an hour, could be the game changer as well. And with the injuries that we have, I think an element that we are struggling with potentially is those game changers off the bench, and Vata could prove to be that for us. So, yeah, I don't think Vata will start, and I think it will probably be Kayembe starting instead of him.
But this is our team.
This is our team, exactly. The striker position, though, is also another one which is going to be really interesting. Another one that I can't call. Vakumbayo is now back after a 3-game suspension after his red card against, was it Norwich? Yeah, it was Norwich, I think. Mamadou Doumbia has come into the team. Obviously, he's 18 years old, 19 now, maybe. I think he had his birthday the other day.
Happy birthday, Mama.
Happy birthday, Mama. Hopefully a goal in front of the Rookery to celebrate. He's done well since he's come in. I think he's very, very raw, nowhere near the end product. It's tough to call, Charlie, but what who are you leaning towards for this one?
I'm easy. I think I spoke about in the last video. You got to earn your spot. Bio cost us the game against Norwich, and he's weakened the squad in the last 3 games. And I think Doumbia has come in, and although he has not been perfect and not at the level we would like in the Championship, I think his attitude has been spot on. I think he's shown good signs of quality on the ball, bringing people into play. I think his movement's good. There's one Middlesbrough where he kind of curves his run and kind of hangs on the back of the defender. And I just think he's earned it. And imagine if he gets his first goal in a derby for Watford as a 19-year-old, it'd be amazing. And Bio's got to get his place back. And if it's level or we're chasing the game, we've got Bio as an option, which is more than we've had previously. So again, having those game changers off the bench is something that we had earlier on in the season, especially with Quadro Bar. And whether it's Vata and Bio coming off the bench, at least then you can look to our bench and think we've got a threat if we need to chase the game. But yeah, for me, it's got to be Doumbia, and that goal in front of the Rookery. Can you imagine how good that would be if that was his first goal? Am I right in saying João Pedro's first goal was in a derby?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think it was on his birthday as well, back in the promotion season in 2020, 2021. Under Vladimir Ivic. It was a typical Ivic performance from memory. I say from memory, I don't remember much other than Pedro's goal in the second half. Troy Deeney squaring up to one of their players and absolutely bashing him. So that's our team. Charlie, just
are you happy with Doumbia?
I'd be happy with Doumbia. What I'm thinking, though, I do think Cleverley will go with Bio. So I think the 2 changes that we'll see from this that Cleverley will go with, I think it will be KMB and Bio rather than Vata and Doumbia. I think that's what Cleverley will go with, to be honest. As so Charlie will put on screen.
You think it'll be this?
I think it will be that, yeah. And obviously, like we said, for our team, we'd go with Rocco Vata and Mamadou Doumbia. Before we get into our predictions, then we'll just run through this quickly. So in goal, we've gone with Igor Selvic. Left back, Jeremy and Ngakia. Interesting to see if Cleverley goes with him or Yasser Larouci at left back. Centre backs, harsh on Kevin Caben potentially, but we've gone Matty Pollock and James Abankwah. With one of our own, Ryan Andrews at right back. Would be unbelievable if he scores for us at the weekend. Midfield, pretty much that midfield 2 picks itself with Imran Loser and Tom Deli Bashiru, with a 3 of Musa Sissoko, Georgie Shaptatse and Rocco Vata behind Mamadou Doumbia. That's what we'd go with. We're probably expecting Tom Cleverley to change a couple of things from that going into the weekend for an absolutely huge game. Before we get into our predictions, make sure to like and subscribe to WD18. We'll be back on, I'm sure, Monday, I think, probably, to review the Luton game. Hopefully it's going to be celebrating what will be a Watford win. We need to get back to winning ways because our home form has dropped off after an unbelievable, 17-18 game unbeaten streak. I believe, Charlie, the last 5 home... in the last, what's the stat? You know it better than me with it.
Yeah, in the derby, the last 5 home teams have won.
Yeah,
but we're coming off the back of, I think, 5 consecutive home defeats.
5 consecutive home defeats. The flip side of that, of course, is I think Luton have lost 12 away from home in a row as well. Yeah, so yeah, I think though, Charlie, like you mentioned earlier, I think if Watford really focus on our own game and don't get wound up by the shithousery that we can expect from Luton, because I think they're going to try and be direct. They're going to come stink the place out, nick a 1-0, a goal from a corner or something like that. I think if Watford play our own game, we're patient, I think we'll be fine. And I think this is where as fans, the atmosphere at Vicarage Road is going to be so important. I think as fans, we have to be patient because unless we get an early goal like we did last time, I think we could be in for a bit of a tense afternoon, a bit of a scrappy afternoon. And I think it's just our role as supporters of Vicarage Road to stay behind the team for 90 minutes. Charlie, how important is Vicarage Road being at home going to be for Watford for this game?
Yeah, I'd just say if we can replicate like it was 2 years ago, and I know it does get easier if you celebrate a goal and you're in party mood, but I echo what you said about supporting the team the players shouldn't need support, but it helps a hell of a lot when the crowd are kind of behind them and the atmosphere is cranked up. And Luton won't like that. It will be against them. They will want to frustrate. They will want to hear moans and groans. So let's not give it to them. Let's get back to winning ways at the Vicks. Get those bragging rights back. And push them lot even further. Oh, they can't go further down. Just put them back in their place. Just win. Sam, what's your prediction?
I think it is going to be a very, very tough watch. And I think there's going to be one goal in it. I'm going to go 2-1 Watford with a late goal to win it.
Would you take a draw?
I've been thinking about this. No, I'm going to say no because we really should be beating them. We really should be. Like, objectively speaking, if we're chasing the playoffs, we're playing the team that are bottom of the league and we need to be winning this game. Charlie, I know you love a 3-3, but surely you're not going with 3-3 for this one.
I was going to build it up. Let me get a serious prediction. I think it's going to be, like you said, quite cagey. I think we're going to come out the traps, whether we can get that early goal or not. But I think in the form that losers in, particularly Georgie was great against Borough. We've had a week off. They've played in the week. Their confidence is bereft. I think we're going to run out and it's going to be 3-3.
God, could be as you say, could either be end-to-end 3-3 draw or a scrappy goal game with one goal in it. Let us know your score predictions in the comments below. Charlie, any final thoughts going into this one? How are you feeling with just over 48 hours to go?
Just not thinking about it. Just try not to think about it. When you build up football games, there's been so many games where in my head I've built up, whether it be Euros finals with England and stuff like that. I think the best recipe is just to not think about it. The day will come. If you go in, back the team, get loud, and hopefully you come out the other end celebrating. How are you going to be preparing for this one?
Wow, I think I'm going for a nice early morning coffee with Jacob at Junction Cafe. So if you are there, come and say hello. Unbelievable gaff there, right by Watford Junction. Before we might potentially be heading past the Mad Squirrel, which I believe is going to be open for the Luton game. It's a 7-minute walk from Vicarage Road, so make sure to check them out for the best beer in Watford.
We're actually, just a shout out, we're actually doing something quite fun and exciting, aren't we, on the Millwall game with the Mad Squirrel?
Yeah, so, we'll keep. Are we able to say what it is yet?
Let's not say yet. Let's not say yet. But yeah, that should be fun. If anyone's going to the Watford Millwall game, keep your eyes peeled. We'll be there doing something fun. So something to look forward to. Something to look forward to.
Charlie, thank you so much as always, my friend. It was an absolute pleasure. And hopefully next time we're on a video, it'll be celebrating what will be, well, not just a brilliant Watford win, but a historic Watford win as well, as it always is if we beat that lot down the road. Thank you everyone for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to WD18 and we'll be back soon. Please, please just win up the Watford. You want.